we're here today is kind of a little, I don't want to say a post-mortem on the bill, but we are going to continue to move this legislation that was defeated today. It had an urgency clause in it. One Republican, Abel Maldonado, did vote for it, and so we were one vote away from clearing our House and sending it over to the Assembly. The reason the urgency was in and the reason that I did not take the urgency out is because for tens of thousands of families in the state of California, urgency is exactly what they're facing. It is an urgent matter. It doesn't come much more urgent than if you're going to lose your home. So we are not giving up on that. This bill will be reintroduced into the regular session as an urgency matter. We will continue to negotiate. The sticking points right now, I believe, are soluble. I do not believe that most people in their clearest thinking moments are going to suggest some of the things that were said on the floor today, that somehow if California does this, capital will flow somewhere else. That does not square with anything that we know about this economy and the way in which capital comes into California and leaves California. I also believe that the same way that Wall Street and some of the financial speculators figured out a way to be able to make a lot of money at the expense of people who maybe weren't best prepared to handle it, they will figure out a way to make sure that this is still going to be a vibrant financial market. And as I mentioned on the floor, I say again right here, when I was in college, there was no such thing as a leveraged buyout or a hedge fund or junk bonds or even adjustable rate mortgages. I mean, these are all things that were invented in order to provide for the marketplace. So they're quite capable of adjusting. Fact is, some banks are doing a very fine job. Some of the real bad ones are gone because what they did not sustain them. So they no longer are adjusting their business plan. They don't have one. They're no longer in business. But some of the larger institutions are doing right by the situation and right by people who are hurting. But what we need to do is have a uniform standard. And this is modest. The goal is singular. Keep people in their homes as much as we can. If there's anything that we can do that keeps people in their homes, we want to do that. Now, there will always be somebody out there gaming the system. Enron comes to mind. Everybody thought Enron was going to be the savior, and look what happened. So there's going to be, the individual is going to be gaming the system. Somebody's going to say, I'll live in this house for 12 months and then I'll send the keys back. Terrific. The plural of anecdote is no evidence. And that's what's happened. And a lot of people want to pick out things. But these are real life stories behind us. These aren't people that are saying, I'll get over on somebody. Will there be people getting over on people? Absolutely. But we never in this country set a standard for the exception. We set it for the rule. So we're going to go back at it. Mike Machado has done a marvelous job, as has Ellen Corbett. They've led this. I'm kind of poaching on their territory. But they're committed to continuing to work this thing through the Senate, bring it to the floor again in as expeditious manner as possible. And then hopefully next time we will pick up one or two more votes. And we're hoping that the banking industry will get over this idea that somehow it's too onerous to require a phone call with the person who is about to be evicted. This is not complicated. This is what government ought to be doing, responding at a time of high need. And this is a high need. And I remind everybody that California is what is at stake here. This is the battleground. A person loses their home, everybody is going to be affected by it one way or the other. And we cannot in this economy afford to do anything less than everything possible to make sure that California gets its nose out of the recession as fast as we got into it. With that, I'd like to introduce the aforementioned Mike Machado and Ellen Corbett, and I'll shut up.
Thank you, Don. I don't know how many saw 60 Minutes on Sunday, and one of the cities that was highlighted was the city of Stockton. And they talked about the high foreclosure rate. What they failed to mention that in the month of March, they expect to have 25,000 additional resets and loans and additional homes that are potential for foreclosure. That's why this bill is needed to take action. What was disturbing today on the floor was that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle asked for discipline of the participants who originated these problem loans. They said, attack the problems, not the symptoms. Yet when action was proposed, without assessing any blame, but merely to inform borrowers that they face a reset, a potential problem, and that they should contact and work with the lender to find a solution to mitigate the possibility of foreclosure, and in doing so optimize the ability to avoid foreclosure, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle ran and hid. This problem affects everyone in California. Today, we walked away from taking the action that would give hope to people who are facing foreclosure. In the near weeks that are coming, we're going to continue to address this problem and work to be able to provide the opportunity for people to step up from the lender side and contact borrowers and let them know. And why is this important? Because 1 in 5 borrowers who face the potential of foreclosure fail to contact their lender. But to understand why is important. Oftentimes they lack the knowledge to understand the terms of the loan. Oftentimes, and even those of us who have gotten home loans, felt intimidated or felt fear of the lender. And oftentimes they were just too embarrassed to talk about their own situation. And that's why it's important for lenders to initiate the contact. Many financial institutions already are doing this. There's no reason why the industry can't step up and be proactive. To not do that continues the drain on local government in terms of property tax, continues the drain on the state government in terms of sales tax, and continues the stability of our communities, and worse yet, it affects the stability of our families. This bill is about action, but also it's about compassion. Compassion for families, compassion for those people who are affected. And it is important that we in government start expressing some compassion along with our action so we can help the people we represent. With that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Senator Corbett.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad, Senator Perata, that we're going to continue to fight on this extremely important issue. This is one of those days in the state legislature where I just sort of shake my head because I know in my community, houses are going on the market every day. Just get on the internet. They're just popping on the market. These are people who their homes are being foreclosed, or perhaps they're trying to get out in front of a reset and try to sell that home before they get into a difficult situation and they can't keep their home. We already know that the American dream is becoming the American nightmare. This bill, I think, was very thoughtful and actually very modest. It only asked for the courtesy of a homeowner to have the opportunity to speak to the lender and to try to be able to renegotiate so they can stay in their homes. Lenders tell us, every lender will tell you, I really want to make sure people stay in their homes. It doesn't make any sense to have a vacant home that we have to maintain. It doesn't make any sense that we're going to have to sell a house, for much less than maybe it's worth. So why isn't this acceptable? The bill also just asked for a few other simple, important things, making sure that renters had a notice. So if they had to find additional housing and they had to be able to pack up and get ready to move, they'd have the time to do that. And it wanted to make sure that the banks, who testified in the Judiciary Committee, that they want to maintain the value of those homes, maintain those properties. So what is wrong with this bill? So I just have to say I shake my head today because I know my neighbors are hurting. I'm sure all of you here today have seen homes in your own neighborhoods. It's happening throughout the state. The time is now. There were 254,000 notices filed last year. That's just the beginning. Hundreds of thousands of resets will be happening in March, and the months beyond. So I say we do something to make sure we help the people, the real people that are hurting, and I hope my colleagues can find their way to do what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. This problem is not faceless. Behind me, we have the Consumers Union, the California Reinvestment Committee, ACORN, Western Center on Law and Poverty, AARP, the Center for Responsible Lending, California Real Legal Assistant Corporation, and these are all community people or represent people in our communities that are being affected by this problem. And today also to talk about the personal challenges that they're faced with their home ownership, we have two people. And first I'd like to ask Cynthia Fields of San Bernardino to express her difficulties with dealing with maintaining her home ownership. Cynthia?
I would like to say good afternoon to everyone that's here and to the people that will be hearing this story. Not only have I been affected, but many of other people have been affected too. And to see homes that are vacant in my neighborhood. Not only that, my story is that once I became behind on my loan and then trying to come up with the money to make the payment, sent a payment to my lender. They rejected my payment. They sent the money back. Had no other alternative. Didn't know where to turn to. Still in the situation, and now I have taxes that are due because I had an impound account as well. And when your taxes are due, you can be foreclosed also when you owe on taxes. So the thing is, what I'm really trusting God for and praying for is that the lenders will work with the people, allow these people to stay in their homes, come out of these adjustable rates because these rates are substantial. And the people really can't afford to pay. Go from $1,500 a month payment to $2,500 a month payment, and even increasing higher than that. So many people are losing their homes and have lost their homes, and it's doing an economic impact upon this nation. Not only on this nation, but it's hurting families. Not only families, but children. We have to look at small children to teenage children that are suffering through this and don't understand why. And families arguing. Not only families arguing, but some people don't even want to speak about their problem. My children didn't even know what was going on. And I'm here to say support the bill that is trying to be passed. I am a member of Acorn Housing. And right now, if it wasn't for Acorn Housing to work on my behalf, there wouldn't be a freeze right now on what's going on. So I'm just trusting and I'm believing that there will be a change for all of us, for all American people who have had that dream to own a home. I remember back in the 70s when people were homeowners, and to see things change and to see predatory lending that is taking place. I don't even understand today what a neg-am is. I don't understand totally what an option arm is. But I know these rates are adjusting and it is affecting our economy. We can't afford for this to go on any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. I think something else that ought to be noted, we've seen two things happen at the Fed level in the last 10 days. We've seen a reduction in the overnight loan rate. Today they adjusted the rates by another half point. That gives lenders an opportunity to work with these borrowers. And I hope that they will not look at a yield spread that they can achieve by the lower cost of their own money and not pass it on to the borrowers and try to work that out to find reasonable solutions. Our next person who would like to talk about her personal situation is Elizabeth Hope of Oakland. Elizabeth?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me this evening. I'd like to thank all the political people for helping us at Acorn. And, oh, thank you. Okay. I'd like to thank Senator Mr. Perata for helping and working with the homeowners globally. As I stand here today as a member of California Acorn and dealing with the housing nightmare, I too am a victim of the big corporation lenders and the bank. I do have a home in Oakland and have lived in my home since 1997. I too saw trouble with my loan adjustable rate, and I reached out to my lender to ask them for help, and they refused to help me. But unfortunately, by going to Merritt College and attending the classes there at Merritt College, they had Acorn there, they had several other different entities there, and now I'm doing volunteer work to help with this housing crisis, even going through my own hurt and pain. I hope that this bill is passed so that the lenders and the bank and the big corporations, just like they charge us, they'll be charged as well. And in conclusion, I hope a similar bill, once again, will finally get passed where the lenders and all the other persons will be held responsible nationwide in helping this epidemic that we have here in our nation. Because, just one other thing, we have 57, I believe over 57 or 37,000 prisoners, men and women that are getting ready to be released. Our soldiers, troops are supposed to be coming home. They're supposed to be ending the war. Where are all these people going to stay? So please consider passing this bill, consider helping our nation. And to my Christian fellows, brothers and sisters, don't forget to pray. Thank you.